Alright, that's cool.
Welcome to another episode of the Mind Like Books podcast. How are you?
Yeah, good.
I'd like to take a minute and appreciate our set because I always dreamed of making this and I would never have made it without Paul. I mean, Paul did it. I didn't do anything, but it's amazing. And I wanted to take a minute and appreciate all the books we've got here. Of course, we got The Free Body Problem in Japanese. Nice cover. Check out episodes 4, 5, 6, 7. We got like 4 episodes of this. And also
4, 5, 6, 7.
yeah, I think I have it written down here. 4, 5, 6, and then the episode 37 is the fan fiction sequel, which was loads of fun to talk about. We also got this book, The Devotion of Suspect X, which is a Japanese detective drama. Is that correct?
Yeah, they made it into a movie too, actually.
Yeah, I'm very excited about this. We're planning to do this next. Maybe the next episode, but soon.
It's too soon.
Yeah, so that just means we're planning to read this with a special guest that shall not be revealed yet, or shall she?
Yeah.
I'm super excited. I was trying to
like, argue with my wife for an hour.
I was trying to as soon as I met Paul's wife for the first time, I was immediately, what do you want to read? Let's get you on the podcast right now. And
Get back. Enough of this.
so that's definitely coming up. I was also joking that if we ever don't have anything to talk about, we have to talk about this book right here. These 2 books. I have to show on video.
Well, you mentioned it before.
I did, but we never showed them. So this one is the...
I found that there's a Japanese translation now.
Oh.
Yeah, I saw it in the bookshop.
I wonder if Japanese people even know Skyrim. Do they play that?
I've met some people who've played it. Yeah,
Okay.
sure. But the Japanese version is more expensive than the hardback.
Well, of course.
Well, but it's a softcover one. And the hardback,
I
the
see.
hardcover one I bought was cheaper.
Mm.
So,
So this is the official cookbook, the Elder Scrolls official cookbook, which is amazing. I didn't know this existed. When you told me, I thought it was a joke. And not only did you tell me, but you cooked stuff from it, and it was amazing.
yeah.
I had no idea Paul is such a good cook. Not only that, but we also have the official cookbook of Fallout, which was nice.
Yeah. It's a bit gross.
No, I love it. It was some of the best food. Definitely
the
gaming inspired. The most amazing. Yeah, this is the one. Yeah, that's it. Bacon wrap scallops, aka mystery meat wrap Nuka Lurk. So I love that. We also got Uicha somewhere.
Yeah, you already talked about that one.
So that's also coming up, but we haven't talked about that. We're gonna do that on an episode.
Yeah, we should.
So that's coming up. It's somewhere in here. There's too many books.
You said you didn't like the Witcher thing. You said it was all like Eastern European stories or something.
I didn't say I didn't like it. I just said I didn't read it.
Okay.
I never even played the games. But I'm up for it. I was always curious. I always kind of wanted to read it. I never really did it. So I will do that.
Alright.
We also have this book here, Holes, which we did on episode 35. So check out that episode. It was pretty interesting. Like a very wholesome, like kind of fairy tale style story, more
Yeah,
adult oriented.
Yeah, I think so.
I really like the description. I would
Yeah.
like to read that sometime.
Movie's good. Movie's
Yeah.
good too. Yeah. Alright, that's enough.
A book that Paul loved, actually. I was surprised he liked that.
And the last book I liked.
Oh no. So, how have you been recently? Have you got any podcast news you want to share?
No.
Any new projects you've done?
No.
Any
I'm not sharing
any?
anything. No, nothing. Just working on the blog. Only.
You're also working on other things I really liked, but I will not push you to talk about those yet.
No.
Maybe.
So hopefully it blows up so I can get out of this.
Terrible. So I'm super excited because it's been a while since we recorded something. For the listeners, it doesn't look like that because you get episodes every 2 weeks. But we're working our butts off to keep on the schedule even though we're busy. And we're changing jobs and we're doing other projects. But God help me, we're gonna do it. We're gonna do 2 weeks episodes of books. And this episode today is very special. I have planned this at the start of this year. My resolution was to do a book that comes out the same year that we do the episode about it. So the book we're talking about today came out the 5th of May this year. Is that correct?
Yeah. No, about a
And
month
it's
ago.
called Chain Gang All Stars. And as soon as I saw it, I thought that Paul would love it because it's primetime trash. What is this book like? How would you sum up what this is in a sentence?
The Running Man with black lesbians.
Yes. Love it. Instantly in. Count me in. I love this so much. Do you like the movie, The Running Man?
Yeah, but I heard the movie and the book are very different.
I didn't even know it was a book.
Yeah, Stephen King.
Should we read that?
I read another one of his under his pen name about something similar. But I forgot the name of that book. Yeah, maybe. Some of his, I don't know, Stephen King books always... It depends on what stage of his life he's in. Whether they're good or not.
My favorite stage of Stephen King's life is when he made Total Overdrive, the movie.
It's like higher. He's like just completely wasted.
That's the best like insanity manifesting itself from a writer movie. Like the beginning of the movie, that's my favorite beginning of any movie ever. It's like so funny.
You know there's a famous quote. They ask him, "Why don't you direct movies again?"
Oh.
And he's like, "Have you watched? Was it Maximum Overdrive?"
Yeah, Total Overdrive is it?
Yeah.
Maximum Overdrive. Maybe.
Yeah. He's like, that's why. He said he was so high that he doesn't even remember making
I
it.
love that so much. It's insane.
Emilio Estevez, I think.
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Emilio Estevez.
Okay.
Charlie Sheen's brother. So.
Watch that movie. That's great. Love it. Especially the lady screaming at the machines in the middle of the movie. It's like, we made you! Do you remember that? She's like, so the plot of this movie is that machines kill people, and there is a plot point where the barmaid, she runs out of the bar, and there is like a truck being possessed, trying to kill everybody, and she starts screaming at the truck, and she's like, we made you! We made all these machines! Why are you gonna kill us? We made you! She just keeps screaming.
Yeah, I love the... I just brought up the screenshot. The truck has like the green face.
Yeah,
yeah,
it's awesome.
That's pretty cool.
Love that movie, and I was hoping that this book would be the same kind of trash. So was it? Was it fun? Did you like this?
It's on that when you did the
Our rating graph.
Yeah, your Snow Crash rating graph. It was like peaks and troughs, a long trough and a peak, and then back down to a trough. Yeah.
I liked it much better than Paul did. Did you feel like you had fun with it, or you were a little bored with it?
No, I didn't have fun with it.
Oh.
I think I agree with a lot of the themes of the book, but the main characters are just quite boring.
I didn't mind them.
Yeah.
I wish there would be more about them. And
the side characters were far more.
The side characters were better. I agree on that. Yes, but I like the characters overall. I think they were well described. I think they had personalities.
The two main ones, I couldn't tell the difference.
Exactly, that's the problem I want to mention.
They're just like mirror images of each other.
There wasn't any distinct characteristic other than their weapon.
Yeah.
And then there is one point that is very, very. I forgot the word immediately. Relatable, sorry. Okay. There is one point that's very, very relatable for me personally. Can you guess which one? About one of the main characters.
Your knee pain.
Yes.
Phobia.
I've never talked about this on the podcast, but I have a horrible knee pain phobia. I don't know a single person except you. Thank you so much, by the way. Thank God you don't have knee pain.
Oh, I've had knee pain.
Oh no.
And I had 2 injections through the side of my knee to fix them up. From jogging. That's why I don't jog. It's a dumb sport. Yeah, like they put an ice pack on the side and they put an injection right through the side of the knee.
So I am almost 37 and I haven't had any knee problems. But every single person I know around me who's over 30 has had knee problems, including my best friend who's had 3 knee surgeries, my coworker who's had 4 knee surgeries, and you had injections. My wife has like some weird knee problems sometimes. Fucking knees. And I sit in the cinema sometimes and I watch a movie and I have this like scratching feeling at the back of my neck and I'm like, my knee, maybe it's hurting.
Fucking
And
hell.
then I watch this movie, and sometimes I'm like, "Oh, my knee hurts," and then I forget, and it goes away. Or I'm running. I run a lot, by the way, and I feel my knees a little bit, and I'm like, "It's coming, it's fucking coming."
I think running's the worst thing for your knees.
I don't care. I like running, but I've never had any problems with it, and I always have this freak out in my mind that my knee's gonna crack open or some shit, and I can't deal with it. And the main character of this book, she's got knee problems the whole time, and I was just at the edge of my seat when the knee's gonna kill her. I couldn't deal with this. It was exactly targeted on me. You also agreed on one thing that would be very targeted on you. What was that?
Oh, the sci-fi magic gun thing. What's it called?
It's like a baton.
Influencer. Yeah, they stab it into you and make you go nuts.
So it's a futuristic device that is fine-tuned to release as much pain as humanly possible that your body can even produce.
Yeah.
And it's called Influencer, which I think is a genius. I like this name.
I like the backstory.
Exactly.
The woman who was trying to make something and how they turned it into something else.
That was very good, yes.
Yeah, that was really great. All the side characters and side stories are really good.
The side story about the characters who go crazy because of this tool is also very well built up. And so I like that part a lot.
Yeah, that's when sort of those peaks, like I said, got interesting again.
I also really like the fights. Did you like the fights?
No, not so much. I'm not into fighting.
Did you like the opening chapter of the fights?
Yeah, the opening chapter was good. Yeah, the first one was fine, but then after a while, just kind of.
That's so bad. I liked it.
Yeah.
They were a little bit too far in between. I have to say, looking back at it, I really appreciate the Red Rising book. I complained that there were too many fights, but in fact, I liked that. I want that.
Yeah.
So in my trash sci-fi, please have many fights in there. And I was very satisfied with the fights in the Red Rising book. Here, I really like the fights, actually. I think they were very creative. They served a point. They weren't predictable. And all the weapons had different fighting styles. And they weren't dragged out. So the fights made sense, in the way they happened. But there weren't as many as I would like. That was one thing
Yeah, it's kind of lots of lulls between the fighting. Yeah.
So when I was reading this, I was super excited because, by the way, I haven't bought a book that just released. I can't remember. I just buy old books. We bought 1984 or some Red Rising is also 10, 20 years old. When did you last buy a new book? Do you remember? A book that just released.
I bought a Stephen King one a couple of years ago that came out, the Institute or something, I think. No, I have bought a few new releases. I think Stephen King was the last one I think I can recall.
Yeah.
So I sometimes try to find something new.
So I was very hyped. I was very excited, and I have to say I really appreciate the contemporary writing style compared to the classics. We always say some writers. We're gonna talk about Hyperion soon, the book. I don't appreciate that writing style very much. It's a little bit dated. Too much poetry in quotation marks. But this book is so easy to read. I was just breezing through it, and I didn't get tired of it, even though there were lulls and it was slow in parts. I never got tired of it. And you listened to the audiobook, which wasn't very good apparently.
So the audiobook had a few different narrators. My only complaint was that there were a couple of male narrators who were quite good, better than the main female one. Sorry. But later on, she starts doing some of the men's voice again. I was like, well, why don't you just bring in the guys that were good? Yeah, and it's just she wasn't great. I don't know.
I was feeling
the
bad.
side characters are good again. The range is great.
I was feeling bad for you because after suffering through the Speaker for the Dead, I thought you would have a retreat kind of relaxed book. You're up your alley, your kind of style. But when you messaged me that you didn't like it.
No, the first from about 20% to 50%, I felt a bit of a slug to get through. After that, it got better, but yeah.
I wanted fights. I wanted like future sci-fi, more adult and more thoughtful Hunger Games.
Which, like Gladiator.
More Gladiator. I got that too. I wanted some sort of social commentary that was there, but I'll get into it later. And I was hoping there would be some overarching theme that would bring it together, and all the storylines that are separated would play on top of each other, which I have to say didn't happen for me.
Yeah, I was thinking the whole way through, like, how is he going to wrap this up?
Yes. So there is a certain plot point that is the ending of the book. And if that was halfway through the book, I would have loved this so much. I think all the world building and the sci-fi elements and all this social commentary and the characters especially and the system of the fighting that he's built up is awesome. I had so much fun with that. But it's not used as much as it could have been. And there could have been some parts cut out, and it could have been brought further with the plot points.
Yeah.
So actually, I would love a sequel, I have to say. I can see you're not gonna read that, but I would love a sequel. I would read it immediately. I have to say the system, as much as I think Hunger Games and all these Battle Royale stories are kind of overplayed now, I like this. I think this was a fresh take on it. Wouldn't you think so?
No.
Okay.
No, I think it's just... No, it's very hard to come up with an original idea. There's nothing original, of course. Yeah, he's borrowed elements from a lot of stuff that I've kind of read or seen. It's fine. I mean, that's what artists do.
I wanted the book to relax, and I had lots of fun with it, and after a long time, I was really enjoying reading a new book that I don't know anything about.
Okay.
I really like that, and I was hoping there would be something where the book goes, and that was there, but it was more of a side note than the main point. And the very ending, I liked. Did you like the ending?
It was okay.
Okay.
I wouldn't know any other way to wrap it up, to be honest.
Oh, I had many ideas how to wrap this up, and the obvious points to wrap it up didn't happen, which I think is good.
Okay.
But not much really happened at the same time. So one thing I wanted to mention about the overarching theme, I think it reminded me of a Black Mirror episode called the 3 million merits, or how many merits? Is it 3 million? 10 million?
I've only seen a few episodes.
Maybe it's 1 million merits. It's maybe the second episode of the whole series.
It's when they're in like kind of they're on the treadmill thing?
Yes, they're earning points, and it's like a social system. And mild spoilers about one plot point from Black Mirror. If you don't want to hear, skip 1 minute. The ending, or one of the points, is that the guy wants to escape the system by pretending or threatening to kill himself, and get out of it by trying to just end his life. And they use that as a new type of entertainment. And then he pretends he wants to kill himself, but it's a new type of show. Yeah. Which, when I first saw it many years ago, I was kind of heartbroken about it.
I remember me holding the
yes.
Talking with big buggy eyes about something.
Yeah. Like, what? So I think this is what the writer of this book was going for. Like at the end. And also in the middle with the protests and all this. But it didn't really drive it home for me. Like, it was more of a side note that's kind of obvious that these things would be happening at the time, but it wasn't a thing that was very relevant to the main characters.
No.
And the ending was that, and that was good, but the stuff that happened around it didn't really connect to the ending very much. So that's the only thing I have to say is something I would not like as much.
Yeah, I mean, there's bits and pieces and characters they all kind of have these strings that kind of connect them together. But yeah, it's not really coming together in kind of a major
but I still liked it.
Yeah.
I was never bored with it.
Okay. Yeah, sure.
So now is the time to pronounce the writer's name.
Nana.
So it's Nana Kwame Adjei-Brenyah. Is that correct?
I think so. I heard it on the audiobook.
Maybe I'll put a clip here. I watched some interviews with him.
Hi, I'm Kwame Adjei-Brenyah, and I'm the author of Chain Gang All-Stars.
Did you see what he looks like?
Yeah, I've seen his face.
Like his shirts and his style. It's super cool.
That's what I'm trying to copy to do.
You don't have enough color.
Yeah, I know.
You should paint something yourself on the shirt. So he's fairly young. He wrote a book at 27 that was called Black Friday. It's a collection of social commentary, like almost sci-fi stories, talking about racial issues and things like that. And he was kind of famous for that. And this is his second book. And now he's 32, and he won an award again. P.N. Gene Stein Book Award, which says nothing, but he won $75,000 for originality, merit, and impact for Black Friday, the first book collection of stories.
Okay.
And I think he writes well. I really like how he writes absolutely non-pretentiously. Like, it's very simple, like direct. There is no analogy, any complicated sentences. I don't know. I kind of like it. It's very simple to read.
Yeah, I can agree.
I enjoyed it. Like when I read Dune, it's kind of a workout, and this is like kind of a holiday. So it's a book I needed and wanted, so I was happy.
All right, that's good. Yeah, I can agree. I mean, it's very easy to read.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the guy's from New York, and his father was a criminal defense attorney.
Okay.
And he said in an interview that he was kind of taking aback that his father was kind of a role model, and then he found out that he's defending murderers, and he completely like flipped his point of view and tried to understand like just law in general and prison systems and things like that. And he quickly became an abolitionist, and he's trying to join activist groups to fight against just broken systems in prison and racial oppression and things like that. And that's why he wrote this book. But I think if he wanted to write that book, he had a little bit too much fun with the black women having sex and fighting rather than discussing the issues he's trying to discuss.
Yeah.
But I like that, so I'm fine with it.
I mean, like, I've argued against like capital punishment all my life because I just think the state doesn't have a right to murder people. But I've never been able to convince someone otherwise. I've never changed anyone's mind. And this book, I don't think it's going to change anyone's mind.
Yeah. That's yes.
Yeah, it's preaching to the crowd, you know.
So yeah, exactly.
Kind of hits you right over the face with all the themes too. I mean, it's pretty obvious. It's not a subtle thing where you might kind of plant a few seeds in someone's mind and they might go away and sort of start to slowly kind of change their mind about something. So, yeah.
Like going back to Heinlein, he's not really asking questions and pointing out problems in a way that makes you think about them. It's more like, these are the issues. Yes, we know them.
Yeah.
And it's bad, and the characters are damaged by them.
Yes.
But that's where it ends. So okay, but there is no way to take it further. So that's what I was hoping for. That wasn't there. He keeps saying in his interviews that he studied like what happens in prison based on rape and women in prison and suicide and what kind of food and food poisoning and all these problems, and all these things are in the book, but they all felt like a necessary side note to show that he's done his research.
Yeah. And there's at the end there's always like some statistic or something, which I mean, like, I didn't like that because I mean, you can easily mislead someone with statistics as well. I mean, of course I agree with the majority of the themes, but I mean, there's one statistic he brought up and I was like, well, there's more to it than that.
Yeah.
This was about like trans black women are more likely to be imprisoned than white trans people.
All kinds of statistics like that.
Like, there's more. Like, it's just not because they're black.
Yeah.
Come on, it's more complicated.
But it's still true that black are more in prison than...
Yes.
Yeah. So all these statistics are
I'm
true.
saying that there's a couple of statistics where I was like, well, actually, it's complicated.
Also, there was a statistic that if you're a woman in prison, there's like a 97% chance you'll be sexually abused, which is awful. So yes, and then that's it. So why bring up these facts when you don't use them for something in the story?
Yeah.
That's what I was hoping. That when I was reading this, I was like, okay, I want my fun trash fights, or I want to think about the issues.
Yeah.
I don't want to have fun with the fights and then just have it on the side as a side note, which maybe is the point, because the point of the story is that the people who watch this have too much fun with the inhumane system that murders people, and we as readers are doing the same, which is the message.
Yeah.
So okay, but it's like, it's a little bit.
Yeah. The other thing too about the whole, there's a lot of comments as well, and sort of hinted a lot at the book about like the evils of capitalism. I quite like capitalism. I mean, that system that allowed you to sell your book and make a lot of money. That system? You don't like that one? Okay. And people are like, unchecked capitalism. I'm like, oh, who's going to do the checking then? You mean the government that's actually involved with the corporations? That's called cronyism. That's not capitalism. That's cronyism. It's a completely different thing.
Yeah.
And that's what pisses me off when people complain about capitalism. You're mixing the two things up. Capitalism is a free market, and it's sort of a mutually agreed upon exchange. Not like government getting favors, corporations getting favors from the government. There's cronyism. That's capitalism. That's not capitalism.
Yeah, you're right.
So
none of these things were really elaborated on. They were just a side note point statistic.
Yeah, but there was one part in the book as well where I think one of the protesters, I think her father was one of the guys.
Yeah.
There was an interviewer asking her a question. It's kind of a relevant question because I get in the same kind of arguments about what do you want to do with these people kind of thing. Then. And her answer was just like a word salad. It's just like...
word salad.
Yeah, it was. It wasn't... He didn't say anything. I mean...
It's true, yeah.
So just a couple of points that kind of irked me about it.
Yeah, I think we agree on that.
Yeah.
So I still had fun with it, but the meat, so to speak, was a little bit lackluster.
Yeah.
He's pretty young, and like I said, I would love to read his next book.
Okay.
I like these kinds of writing styles. So too bad you will not read that.
Probably not. Well, I was actually more... I think... I was more curious about his previous book because I think maybe the short stories are probably quite good.
I would read them, yeah.
Because as I said, all the little short stories, all the side characters and stuff were quite interesting. And I think that's he did that quite well. But this whole big plot, was just like,
this
a bit meandering.
Actually is a point he said in the interview. It was supposed to be a short story in the other book, but he wanted to try something new and make a novel. Right,
that makes sense.
So if you're up for it, I'd read that. It's only 200 pages, by the way, the Black Friday book.
It never ends.
Well, that's the point. It's just fun. So I wanted to bring up a thing that I liked in his interview. He said about the main characters, which I think the characters we can agree we like. And a thing that he was trying to like depict with the main character, I didn't think about as much, but he said really well in the interview, so I wrote it down. He said that he wanted somebody who was right at the nexus of being loved and inherently hated and sexualized, both condescended to and revered. He feels like that's a more woman's perspective.
Experience.
Or experience in any power position than a man's experience.
Okay.
So it's like this strange contradiction or position in power when you are at the same time ridiculed, revered, respected and feared, but also desired. Meanwhile, if you're a man in that position, half of these are not there. So
sometimes they must be there. Right?
Well, okay. If you're but he said that there's a good example he mentioned with like Serena Williams and LeBron James. What kind of fan commentary and hate mail they get, and how different it is. I never thought about this. Like if you look at like YouTube comments about Serena Williams, the kind of things people say are in the same spirit as about LeBron James, but completely different because of this element that she's just a sexy woman and she's in power
I've never heard anyone say anything bad about Serena Williams.
Yeah, everybody says something bad about somebody.
LeBron James brings it on himself because he says stupid shit. And then he just makes friends with China. You're a fucking hypocrite, LeBron.
So when did they last talk about LeBron's, body, or what he would be like to sleep with in bed, or things like that? Like,
I don't know. Ask your wife.
Okay.
I'm sure some women must do it. But yeah, I get the point. Yes.
Yeah. So that's interesting. I think he's got a point there.
I'm just thinking one thing that other complained about this book. So in these like gladiator fights, we have men and women fighting each other.
Yeah.
And the women are winning.
Yes.
Come on. Really? Really?
I was waiting for you to say that.
Really?
I thought you'd say that.
Really?
Didn't disappoint. We should do like a bingo checklist. If you're gonna say these things and if I'm gonna say these things, I'm sure there are things like that I say all the time as well.
Come on. Now we're in the realms of fantasy.
As soon as there was a fight where the main character killed a man, I was sure you were gonna say this. I was like, yes.
We have like the USA professional women's soccer team playing against a bunch of 15-year-old boys and get beaten like 10-0 or something. Men and women are different. Men have more power. Yeah, come on.
To play the devil's advocate, the other guy wasn't as experienced. Blah, blah, blah. But yes, of course.
I'm going to make another comment here.
Okay.
Wait for this one. So there's all this controversy about like trans women or trans men participating in women's sport. I suppose trans women participating in women's sport. I used to have an opinion about it, but I don't really care anymore. And my opinion's changed now because I thought, well, maybe I actually make women's sport more interesting. It's fucking boring, no?
That's either awful or a very good joke. I'll let you decide, listeners.
It's not my fight. Honestly, if women want to do it, I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
I don't watch women's sport.
Yeah.
Come on.
So there's one last point I'm going to make about this, and that's that I like trash books and stories for not having an angle on them and having the angle of pure entertainment. When I was reading this and thinking of other books we've read, there's always an agenda the book kind of has, or kind of a message that they want to say. And there is something freeing and liberating and relaxing about reading a story where they don't have this at all. Do you think the Red Rising book is like that or not? I don't know what they're trying to say. There's of course like social class commentary and things like that, and they are trying to show oppression and people in power abusing power and stuff like that. But it's not as prevalent. And so,
it is.
No, in the Red Rising book, it's still there.
It's there, yeah.
So
It's really there.
I meant to say that's I never thought about it. That's why I like trash sci-fi, because they don't do that.
Well, they do it, but it's so ridiculous. I think no one takes it
It's so
seriously.
ridiculous. You immediately dismiss it and you don't
it's
care.
like, whatever.
So maybe
Yeah.
that's also why. Okay. So as usual, do you recommend this or not?
I know you don't like scores, but I give it a 3 out of 5. So
I would give it a 4 out of 5.
Okay, 3.5, I guess.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just the main character. I guess I found them, as I said before, a bit dull.
I agree.
And the side characters were written, good stories and side stuff. And the ending was a bit disappointing for me. I don't know. I didn't know how he was going to finish it. I had some ideas, but
Maybe we'll talk about it in the spoilers.
Yeah,
but
something different, sure.
if you like,
it depends on the person. I really can't give a broad recommendation. Yeah.
If you want something fun and you want to have a light read about, people fighting in a gladiator-style futuristic sci-fi, little bit of a new spin on the Hunger Games or these kind of stories. Yeah, I recommend it. I had only fun with it. I never felt like I did like it, even though there were some dull parts, like we said.
There's just some people who have given it 5 stars, and they're like, "Oh, it's not a perfect book." I'm like, "Why did you give it 5 stars then? You fucking moron!" Oh God.
Yeah.
People.
So if you're curious about this book and you decided if you want to read this, I highly recommend clicking on the link on the YouTube video I'll put in the description. There's a public reading where the writer himself reads the first chapter of the book. I listened to it today. It's amazing. He does an amazing job reading it. He involves the audience into it, and he shouts and does voices.
Maybe he should have done the audiobook.
Yeah, he should have.
I'm very grateful. The seventh bell rang. The people screamed. For years, this had been their sacred ritual, the 7 bells of Melancholia Bishop. They'd seen her wipe scum off the earth. They'd seen her kill women and men who they'd once claimed to love. Now she stood and looked out at them for the last time. Soon she would be free. Melancholia! 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 The crowd chanted. Her brown eyes explored the bleachers. Then she raised the helm above her head. Once it was on, she was home. Melancholia! 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 For the last time ever! Right cheered. Please help me welcome the winningest woman to ever step on the battleground, the mistress of the murder ballad, the sacred sweetheart, the crusader!
I was really engaged. In fact, there was a second person reading from his book after him, and he was like, oh, I have to follow up on this? Oh, no. And I like the guy a lot, actually, when I listen to him. So, like I said, I'd like to read more from him, but good luck for me finding a partner to do that with.
Maybe the short stories. Maybe the short stories.
Okay.
Maybe it's a shit fight.
Yeah, but it doesn't change the fact of your argument. You just argued that the sole fact that I'm I'm a man who's fit, kind of, could beat a woman who's also fit, doesn't do that.
Yeah, you should identify as a woman.
Then I also lose.
Even worse.
Because I was already fighting a woman, if you didn't notice. It wouldn't change the fact at all. It would just be like more ridicule at me.
Yeah, this guy, he transitioned to how to win a fight.
He lost again, yes. Exactly. So obviously, if both people train the same and the other guy is bigger and stronger, then okay. But if you just have like a guy who trains better, a girl who trains better than the guy, then surprise, she's better. Like, there is nothing to talk about.
It's like physical facts.
Especially when it comes to weaponry, like they're using weapons. They're not just punching.
Far more like force in the weapon. I swing the weapon.
Yeah, but what do you need force for when you just cut somebody's belly open?
Come on, let's go.
Okay, so let's get into the spoilers. We'll try to sum this up a little bit shorter than usual, I guess, and hopefully talk about I have some questions for you.
Okay.
So the story starts with a fight where the main character, Loretta Furwar. So she gets inducted.
Yeah.
First fight.
Because I read it quite a few weeks ago. That first fight, like, there was a woman who's kind of like the champion.
Yes.
She kind of just gives up.
Yes, that's the point.
I was like, why?
Yeah, that's exactly the questions I have for you. So the fight happens, and there is the Colossal, which is like the ranking, top ranking in this system. So the system is that people who are incarcerated, they murdered somebody, they are criminals, they can sign their life away, basically, to this corporation called CAPE. Yes, and they go into this arena. They join these chain gangs. That's why the name of this book. And the chain gang is a team of people where they have links of the chain, and each link has fights, and they go through these rankings, and they just kill each other, basically Mortal Kombat style, and they have weapons. And so she starts the first fight, and she has a screw bottle opener as a weapon, which there is a part of the book that like randomly selects a weapon for you. So sometimes they have a spoon or some shit.
Frying pan or something.
Meanwhile, another guy has a katana. So I okay. That's weird.
So why does she?
So she buys this. She's called Bishop something.
Yeah, she just grabs the wall and says like, "Shave your head and swing through me."
So
kill me kind of thing.
the system is that after a certain amount of fights, you should be let go. You should be freed, and they say you can be low freed or high freed. So if you die, you're low freed, and if you leave the arena, high freed. And they
Did anyone actually get freed?
exactly.
Because I was like thinking about this during modern times, actually, with a certain paramilitary group in Russia who's recruiting prisoners. And wait, and like then they're going off and fighting, and after 6 months they're like, "You're free to go." And guess what they do? They go back to their town and commit more crime and stuff like this. So I was like, why would they let someone go through a system that's teaching them to become like a trained killer?
It's awful.
And then let them go? It's like, huh? So anyway, that was my kind of question throughout the whole thing. Is that
So-
obviously they're not going to be released, or something else?
This is a part of the book I really liked, by the way,
Okay.
because they never said it, but we all know what happens,
No.
right? So why would you release a super trained killer in the public?
Yeah.
What will they do?
Like we found out.
So they kill them,
yeah.
of course. So that's why. So the person who's the colossal, she knows she will not survive this even if she wins the fight. So what the fuck does she do? So she just lets the other girl win to give her a chance to have a better life.
Okay. That's what I was thinking.
Yeah, of course. So she has like a huge ass hammer, and they like pretend fight, and she gives her instructions secretly. And I like the details of the fight, by the way. How Loretta like grabs stuff and then she cuts her fingers and stuff. And she's like very clumsy about it.
Yeah.
But she still powers through. And then she jabs this screwdriver bottle opener thing in the neck. And they even describe how the screw disappears in her neck. She can't pull it even out. It's very gruesome. Yeah, awesome fights. I liked it.
Into the violence, I guess.
I read too many horror books.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm okay with horror because it's like supernatural, I guess.
Yeah.
Half the time.
That's true.
Anyway.
So she tells her some tips, like shave your head,
Remember that one?
have a catchphrase, use a weapon, blah, blah. And that. So Loretta Fervor, she takes it close to heart and she does all these things. That she becomes the new Colossal and she becomes super successful. So that's the start of the book.
Yeah.
One of the parts I liked was the magnetic sci-fi handcuffs.
Yeah.
How does that work?
Well, it's on the wrist or something, and changes color depending on it's red or something. You're locked in.
Yeah.
Released or something.
And they even like laugh at it at one point because they have different systems to control the people with the handcuffs that are built in their wrists, and they make them walk on a march, and so they make them walk with the wrists.
Yeah.
And then one point they laughed at it because they went on the limit of the allowed space. And they were like leaning on empty space and like floating on the handcuffs because they can't go further. I like that part.
I remember that one.
Yeah, I like that they were creative with this.
Okay.
So they have different like green lights and each of them have different systems. And yeah. So we learn all the rules of the fighting system and they get blood points to get weapon and all of them have sponsor tattoos, and every time they kill somebody they get a tattoo to commemorate that. And it's all just brutal and merciless. There's also side stories about how people get kind of indoctrinated in the system or how they are a little bit forced into signing the papers to join in. Did you like any of these parts?
Oh, yeah. I did.
How about Simon J. Kraft?
Yeah, I like that character. You probably knew.
I thought that's why I'm asking.
Yeah, but he's been kind of like tortured into the device, the influencer, and he's just walking around with this like crazy smile on his face.
Yeah, he's completely insane.
Yeah,
and the reason is that he's been influenced too much. And usually when people
prison fights,
yes,
by the corrupt guards, yeah.
Usually people just go mad and they can't even exist anymore after this happens to them. But this guy, he's still going, and he's going way too hard. And people are like, this guy, no.
Yeah. Because they used it. You find out later that they used it on Fergal as well.
Yeah.
That's probably why she maybe can win a fight against the man, I guess.
Yes.
Same.
She's tough.
Yeah. Mm.
She's tough as nails.
Yes. Mm. Did they use it on the wall? Stark? Whatever her name? Stax.
Stax. So the other main character is
Hurricane Stax.
Hurricane Stax, and I have the full name here. I want to say the name correctly.
Remember.
Yeah.
Mm.
It's... Where is it?
You have it on your notes?
I do, but I don't know where.
You just put Stax.
No, I wrote the full name somewhere.
Stax. No. No, you didn't.
I did. The fact maybe I deleted it.
No.
Well, whatever. So Loretta Stax. Loretta Hurricane Stax.
Yes.
And Stax is because her original surname, and then she killed so many people that every time she tattooed an X on herself, and now it's Stax X X X X X X X X. I like the names of the characters, by the way. I wanted to ask you about one specific character whose name was
Gummy puddles.
I like all the naming in the book. The TV show that broadcasts the fights is called Room or something like that, like Room.
Okay.
And all the characters have ridiculous names.
Mm.
One of them was called Paul Levi or something, and his sword is called Lick'em Split'em.
Levi Paul. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. There is like Marky Marks or Pale Bruiser and Tito Turnip Markham. So yeah, I the Belmont Vipers and like,
The team names and stuff.
yeah.
Sure. All right.
So I think Simon J. Kraft is probably the best character for me.
Yeah, I did actually like his ending too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was actually some feelings.
Yeah. That was actually quite
About the
well done.
other characters, I didn't feel about them as much. I just had like fun with them, but I didn't. They didn't make this book didn't make me feel anything very much, unless it was Simon J. Kraft.
Or Singer.
Yes, the two guys.
The two guys, yeah. Singer and Kraft, yes.
So one of them doesn't have an arm,
Yeah.
and he visualizes how his non-existent arm grabs people in the fight, which I loved.
It's the thing with people who lose arms or
Yeah,
limbs.
yeah.
That kind of...
So that part I
To-
really liked. It was very creative.
Mm.
And so life goes on, and we learn about them just going through the process of this fighting system, climbing through the ranks, getting better weapons,
Mm.
and they have all this drama inside of their teams because in the chain they also kill each other.
If you want to, yeah.
If you want to, you can do whatever you want. So you're supposed to work as a team, but if somebody is crazy and they decide that they're gonna kill each other, then they just do.
Kraft, when he first shows up, kills half the...
Exactly.
all the team.
Exactly. I was cheered like that.
Well, I like how he is, like, because they've been using the influencer so much on him, the prison guards, to kind of train him in these, like, underground fights. And he only responds to, like, commands. And when Singer says, stop, and just orders him, he's like, yes, sir. And he just sits down. He's just got this, like, crazy look on his face.
And when they first give him food, they deploy the food in a box. He's just stabbing the box with a spear. Like, it's insane.
Yeah.
This character was very well written.
Yeah. Just,
So we have this chain called Aham. So they have Sunset, somebody, I forgot his name, but his nickname is Sunset.
Yeah.
And then there is Loretta Stax, and then Fervor joins in, and there's, I think, 7 people in total. And they have this, like, Fast and Furious quote, it's all about family. And we need to treat this as family. And they have a pact to force each member of this group to not kill each other and only work together to kill the other teams. So meanwhile, we look at the other teams, and they, of course, are killing each other. And the plot point, like the whole book, is saying that the organizers of this gladiator fights will basically fuck over all the participants. Nobody gets out of this. And starting the next season, they will have a new plot point or a new rule that the 2 most successful people on the same team will have to fight each other. which means the two main characters who are in love with each other will have to fight each other. And we slowly find out how they know, and there's like a rebel that secretly slips in a message. So Loretta knows that it will happen, and then the other lady also knows this will happen. And then the book ends with this, which I was very surprised. It was like kind of an abrupt ending.
Yeah.
I thought there would be more. I thought this would be like halfway point.
Yeah. I mean, first I thought, because Singer, who loses his arm to die, has a spear. And Kraft, who basically the only two members, or two links in the team.
Yeah.
Kraft's killed everyone.
And usually it's like 8-10 people, and they're just two of them.
And then because Kraft has built up a huge reputation now as like a killing machine. So he's going, that team is put against the main two characters, Thor and Stax.
That's like the one but last battle climax of the book.
Yeah. And Thor has a knee trouble.
Yes. So the whole time she was pretending not to have knee pain, and she was like rubbing it in secret, and meanwhile the cameras are constantly floating around them and watching everything.
Yeah.
So she's only rubbing her knee when the camera's not watching. And then at the end of the book she finally gives up because it hurts so bad. And she's fighting together with her love partner, and they both attack. So Kraft and Simon, they both... So not Kraft and Simon. Singer and Singer and Simon. They both attack Loretta. Damn it!
They go after Stax.
So Singer and Simon
Go after Stax.
Stax.
And then Thor has a knee problem. And she throws her hammer and hits Singer. And then Kraft actually kind of sits down and sort of nurses him. Because he's sort of bonded with him.
Exactly. It was the most powerful moment in the whole book for me.
And Stax like slits his throat or something.
Yes. So Stax's weapon is a scythe, so she just cuts his head off.
Yeah.
And the moment where Fervor like fell on her face because her knee like broke, I was like, damn it, I was waiting for this the whole book.
Yeah.
But it ended well. So for her.
For her, yes.
So crisis averted. I didn't cry that her knee broke. And yeah, there is a bunch of stuff we skipped, but it's not as important.
Yeah, I think the background story for the influencer device and how that was created is very interesting.
Agree.
And the inventor or something, her initial reasons or motivations are very different to what it's actually being used for.
Yeah, that was also good.
She ends up in prison as well. But and she has a connection again with, I think it's Stax or Thor or something. I can't remember. The characters are so interchangeable.
That's true, unfortunately.
It is.
So the very ending is kind of a play on your expectations and emotions. So they have this back and forth, who's gonna fight who, and they keep training with each other, Fervor and Stax. And first Fervor is like, I am going to let you kill me because I can't deal with this anymore. I'm gonna survive this anyway, so you better continue. And then she's like, no, you kill me, and they love each other, and then they like go through all this, rejection, accepting, bargaining. And when the fight finally starts, they just drop their weapons and they run in the middle of the stage and they just kiss and hug, which I thought would be the ending, and I thought they would just kill them.
Yeah.
But that didn't happen.
I thought so too.
I also thought that at that point the rebels or the protesters would somehow attack the stadium or something would go down.
Yeah, but it seemed like that was enough.
Yes, so that didn't happen.
I mean, changing it is something, as I said, like, I've been arguing against capital punishment all my life, but it's a real slow, glacial process to change these things sometimes.
Yeah, that's true. So then they run back, pick up their weapons, and they actually fight. And this is a point that actually kind of turned me around. I actually like the fight because both of them, we kind of see a little bit about their thought process. And they are thinking just they will pretend to fight. Then they are thinking, oh, my body is kind of doing it for me. I don't even have getting more control because I've been doing this so many years. And then they think, if I win or lose, what does that even mean? Where do I go from here? Even if I am officially freed from the system, it doesn't mean anything. So, and then they go back and forth through this, like, I'm gonna kill her or I'm gonna let myself be killed by her. And they kind of played with each other with the fights. And then finally, Fervor, I think, is more damaged and jaded and scarred. So she doesn't just ease on the other girl. She just keeps fighting. And Stax is at one point kind of done with it. And instead of, she kind of wins, but instead of cutting her face off with the scythe, she just hits.
She uses the other side of
She flips it around and she just hits her head with the blunt side.
She's like, I got you.
And Fervor's like, okay, and she kills her with the hammer.
Yeah.
And I think, and at the end, just cut to black, cut to credits. And I think it's a good ending because it's very impactful. It makes you really feel like what the characters are feeling at the time.
I think earlier on when I think Sunset was talking about Fervor, like how she's so like almost sort of selfish and do anything.
And she proved she is.
Yeah. So I think we kind of pegged her for what she is, kind of thing.
And
so
it's really trying to depict how the system damaged her from being somebody who is scared to attack somebody from just using a screw bottle opener, and to become a killing machine and being so selfish and just drilled into this mindset of just not being able to control herself other than just kill people. Then she kills the love of her life without even being able to think about it, and the other person knew. So I think the ending drives on the point that he wanted to make, that the system makes people crazy. The same with Simon J. Kraft.
yeah.
So yes, it's powerful in that way.
Okay.
I think the character arcs prove how the system is awful.
Yeah.
That's a good point. So that's why I like the ending.
Yeah, okay.
I think that's well thought out.
I was curious of what happened next.
Exactly. So sequel, please. I want the sequel.
But sometimes it's like it's best not to answer the question.
Well, yes and no. It depends where the sequel goes. If the sequel is a new story that's not rehashing the same thing, and we move away from the fights in the arena and do more with this progression, then I would very much love that. But if it's gonna be the same kind of, chains in the arena going through fights, then of course I don't want that anymore. That's already been done.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So we didn't really change my mind about this. I'll still stick to my initial 3.5.
Failed this time.
No, I think we're in agreement with a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
This is sort of,
I just wanted to have fun with the book, and I did.
yeah, sure.
There are a few very quick points I wanted to mention.
Sure.
Paul wants to get out, but I won't let him.
Okay.
So one of the points I really liked was the point of view of the viewers. In all these stories, the Hunger Games and all these, they never have the audience involved.
It's true.
And there was a point where the wife and the husband watch the games and what that's like from their point of view. So I really like that. I really want that in these stories. And I think it's a very interesting thing to bring up, but it didn't go anywhere at all, I don't think.
No.
That's too bad.
Annoying white trash people. I've been to enough sports events and things. I've heard enough bullshit from people, so it doesn't really. It's the same nonsense.
And how the audience deal with this, and how the wife doesn't like watching it and is forced into watching it, and then she can't help but want to watch more of it and actually enjoys it, even though she doesn't want to have anything to do with it, is interesting.
She ends up like making out with the husband.
And then they have sex while watching it. It's awful. It was some bad stuff.
Okay.
So that part, I think, is a point that is very ignored from these stories. So then we have the side story of the protests and the people who are trying to stop this, which also doesn't really go anywhere.
No, there's just a connection with the daughter of one of the guys, Sunset, who I think Stax killed.
Yeah, so we skipped that part. So when
he asked her to do it.
Yeah, so Sunset is on the top
Yeah.
of the rankings. He is about to be freed, but he knows he will not be freed, so he asks his best friend to basically kill him. And she does.
Yes. So the daughter of Sunset, I think, is a member of the protest group.
Yes.
And she's the one sort of slipping messages and stuff. It's kind of a love interest that doesn't seem to go anywhere.
At one point, she jumps into the arena and she protests, and they beat her and influence her. And then she comes back again, and they broadcast a message from her, but they cut it halfway through.
That's
and They don't say it, but I think it's like a pretend staged broadcast of a staged message because she's already not there from this influencing, which was the point I mentioned with the 1 million merit Black Mirror episode.
Oh, okay.
They used her to entertain the crowd by doing the same thing she wanted to protest against.
Yeah.
So that was the point I meant to say. That was kind of clever. Yes. And I have 2 questions and then we'll end.
Okay.
Because I think there are 2 things I'm just curious if I misunderstood or if it's like a huge plot hole.
Right.
So the first one is when Sunset asks Stex to kill him. They made it a huge point in the whole story that nobody knows that the next season of the games will have Stex fight Furwar. And Sunset knows at this point. And they talk about it openly.
Yeah.
And so now they both know. And everything that happens every time in all of these things, there's always cameras around them. Where are the cameras at this point?
No, they have a dark mode sometimes with the cameras turned off.
So she didn't film them at the time. Okay, no. So I missed that part.
Okay. No, they call it dark mode or something. But there's a period of time where they actually
And second point I couldn't wrap my mind around was that Singer and Simon fight another team. And there is this event called Melee.
Oh, yes.
So they run at each other, the whole teams, and the fight stops as soon as one person dies.
Yes.
Which is fun,
Okay.
like from point of the games, and it makes an interesting dynamic how to do this. And then Simon and Singer, they just kill all of them immediately.
Some Jancraft is a killing machine.
So
Probably it's hard to stop once he gets going.
they killed all 8 people from the other team. Did the organizers just allow it for the fun of it? Or where is the rule that after one person is killed, it stops?
I think there's like... I know the rule, but I thought usually after one person's is killed that they're forced to walk away or something.
So why didn't they do that here? Did they like watching them?
Maybe like watching Simon go for it, maybe. Because it gets quite... What do they call it? Jungle.
Yeah, Jungle J or something.
Yeah, he said jungle.
Yeah. So
I don't think that's a plot point. I think they're just letting him go.
yeah. Do you like Jordan Peele's movies?
I've never watched any movies.
You should. I love them. I think if he made a movie out of this, with all black cast and like some like mad looking person, like Jungle J guy, and they would make it really dark, like he does because he does horror movies. I think it would be an amazing movie. Like just take parts of this, not the whole thing, and make it like a horror movie in like from a prisoner's perspective. Even if Simon J was the main character, it would be amazing.
Yeah, I think if they... You probably don't need all the arena stuff. I don't think that's been done too much.
Yes.
But if you had like the marching, the links, and fighting each other, and
if you had the
background stories,
exactly,
and
the fights would be just like the background as the context, and not really there. It would be a great movie. Right? So please, Jordan Peele, make it.
We know you watch our channel.
Of course.
Alright, anything else?
That's it. Thank you for answering my questions. Please don't be exhausted.
Stressful morning with my cat. So.
Paul is being drained from his enthusiasm about reading recently because I made him read The Speaker for the Dead. So please, listeners, send us some supporting messages for Paul to read Xenocide in Ender Saga Part 3.
You can get Paulo, your old partner, Greg.
Yeah. So,
All right.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for
I
watching.
was having a great time reading a new book. I hope you can do this more often.
Thanks. No worries.
Okay. That's it.
Okay, thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you again for listening. Rate us on Apple Podcasts. Follow us on Spotify. And on the next episode, highly anticipated, finally, we're going to talk about Hyperion by Dan Simmons. A very, very intense read, I have to say. Definitely a mind duck. Lots and lots to talk about. So you can look forward to a long episode. Pablo's coming back. Also a good one. So see you then.